Episode 4. Paul preached Sabbath after the resurrection. Why don't you? Acts 13:14, Acts 13:42, Acts 17:2, Acts 18:4. What do these verses have in common? Paul preaching on the Sabbath after the resurrection. Not once, not twice, repeatedly. If Sunday was the new day of worship, why didn't Paul ever say it? Why didn't he ever correct the believers who gathered on the seventh day? Why didn't he rebuke the Gentiles for honoring a Jewish commandment? Because the Sabbath didn't change. Paul wasn't in rebellion. He wasn't confused. He was inspired by the same Holy Spirit that inspired Hebrews 4:9. Sabbatismos wasn't just a word, it was Paul's lifestyle. He understood that the Sabbath was rooted in creation, written in stone, and honored by Christ himself. So Paul did what faithful believers always do. He kept the Sabbath. Today, pastors twist Paul's writings to destroy the very law he upheld. They quote Romans and Galatians to make it seem like Paul was against the law, when in truth Paul wrote in Romans 3:31, "Do we then make void the law through faith? God forbid, yea, we establish the law." If Paul was against the Sabbath, why didn't he say so? Why didn't he ever mention Sunday as a replacement? Because he didn't, and it wasn't. 10. Confrontational questions. Why did Paul preach every Sabbath if Sunday was the new holy day? Why did Gentiles gather on the Sabbath in Acts 13:42 if the law was abolished? Why does Acts 17:2 say it was Paul's custom to preach on the Sabbath? Why did Paul stay for 78 Sabbaths in Corinth? Acts 18:4-11. If Paul opposed the law, why did he say, "I delight in the law of God"? Romans 7:22. Why didn't Paul ever call Sunday the Lord's Day? Why did Paul quote the 10 Commandments in his letters? If Paul taught against the Sabbath, why wasn't he condemned by James and the other apostles? Can Paul contradict Jesus, who said he didn't come to destroy the law? If Paul was a Sabbath keeper, why are you not following his example? Paul's actions speak louder than modern theology. He didn't preach the Sabbath because he was confused. He preached it because it was truth. You claim to follow Paul, but if you reject the Sabbath, you are not following Paul. You are following Rome. It's time to return to the faith once delivered. The Sabbath remains, and Paul preached it boldly. So why don't you? Isaiah 66:22-23:22. For as the new heavens and the new earth, which I will make, shall remain before me, saith the Lord, so shall your seed and your name remain. 23. And it shall come to pass, that from one new moon to another, and from one Sabbath to another, shall all flesh come to worship before me, saith the Lord. Did you catch that? No Sunday worship in heaven.